Okay, guys, let's go over our words. What does sapient mean? Sapient is another word for wise. Someone who's wise. Sometimes someone is just called. Someone had an article this morning in my Fluent Literature class. They said, well, he's a sapient. He's one of the world's only sapients in math, which means he can do mathematics.
How is he the only one?
Well, he's one of the few. He's a sapient. They used it like it's not for many people who can do what he's able to do.
It's more like a single out.
Well, not really.
Or very, very small amount.
You know, they're using it like that. They're just calling him a sapient instead of being describing as being sapient, if that makes sense. Okay?
Yeah.
So it can be used either way. All right, what about chimerical? What is chimerical? If something is chimerical, what is it? Remember I asked you guys if you guys read the Shakespeare comedy. You were telling me that you read it in 8th grade with Miss Abbott.
I wasn't in Miss Abbott.
Or Miss Watson.
I don't remember doing that either.
Mr. Rackstream.
Oh, I remember.
Yes, the fairies.
Oh,
So
I've been hitting my head since then.
fairies are chimerical. You know, so what is chimerical? What is chimerical, guys? What does it mean?
Funny.
Not funny.
Imaginary, like
Yes,
made up.
imaginative, yes. All right, so reviewing, what about the word machination? That's what is a machination?
Evil plan.
An evil plan, a scheme, very good. Evil scheme, evil plan. You don't have to use the word plan or evil when you're using machination. It's all built in, right? Okay, what about pejorative? What is pejorative? If someone was saying pejorative statements about.
I was like freak, what you call it?
Negative.
Negative, derogatory.
Yeah,
very
derogatory.
good. Yes. All right, what about a harbinger? What's a harbinger?
An omen.
Guys, listen.
An omen.
It is an omen, right? Something's going to happen.
What's an omen? A prediction.
Yes.
Like a bringer, like, I don't know.
Like a
To
future.
manifest, a manifestation.
Yes, like something's going to happen. It's like before it happens, you get a
Feeling.
yes.
Like deja vu. Was that reversed?
No, like if it's about to rain, the clouds will be dark and stuff, and like you'll see.
Oh, so
Like,
it's not like when you know how you ever heard a thing of people that's had surgery, they like feel it in their stuff.
Yes, I have. It's very unusual. Yes. Yeah. So apparently, someone said that someone had some surgery on their face, did it with their nose, with their, they took some tissue from their forehead, and so whatever their nose was, they scratched their forehead. But it grew. I'm not kidding. It grew the face. That's strange. I know it is.
what, Terry?
Okay, what is nibble? Nibble.
What did you say?
Guys, what's nibble?
Pertaining to like
Female age.
Female age.
Female is suitable for marriage.
Female is suitable for marriage. Perfect. So that could be really deemed by herself, her family, and culture typically dictates that as well. Okay, what about, again, sapient is wise, and chimerical is what?
Imaginary.
Imaginary. Okay, let's read our sentences. All right, Logan, you ready to read yours? I get the light.
I think it's
Okay, here, let me. I don't think, you know what? I don't have it. It's frozen. There we go.
there.
Okay, so Logan, did you read yours?
No, I'm not here.
Okay.
You already got through Nick?
No, but I called on you first. Nick, I'll call on Nick in just a second.
There are times that others are sapient and smart.
Very good. Very good. There are times. That's right. All right, Nick, do you mind to read your sentence about sapient, please?
I try to give sapient advice to my friends.
Very excellent. Excellent. All right, Grant.
Sapient man gave good advice to the kids.
Perfect. All right, Tyler.
The
Sapien Al has given advice to the kid in green.
Oh, wow, that can kind of go into chimerical, can it? Very good. What about Brennan? The boy was very sapient when he did math problems. Good. And Sierra?
I consider my grandpa a very sapient man.
Beautiful. Perfect. Caden? My dad thinks he is very sapient. All right. I'm sure he is. And Jonah?
The sapient obeying gives advice.
All right. Good. Period. Yes. And Robert? Aaron Donald is sapient when it comes to football. Very good. And Abigail, let's see. Abigail, are you going to read yours or do you want me to read it?
Yeah, I can read it.
Okay, guys, we're listening.
Miss Rouge was always sapient when she went to her house. When we went to her house.
Perfect. Thank you. And then Brayden. Absolutely. Very excellent. All right, now we're doing chimerical, and that would be Nick again.
We used to be very chimerical. How do you pronounce that? When we were young?
Chimerical?
Yeah. We used to be very chimerical when we were young.
Perfect. Let me do this really fast. Hang on, guys. Okay, if this doesn't freak you out, some people don't like water moves, so if you don't, just look away.
Chimerical.
Oh, but it's chimerical. No, I thought it was chimerical.
Chimerical.
Well, hang on. She said cha.
Chimerical.
Okay, chimerical. It might be British.
Chimerical.
Well, I'm going to go with chimerical, but the little lady said chimerical. I like chimerical.
Chimerical. Chimerical.
Okay. Okay. All right, Logan. Chimerical. Good. And Tyler.
Robert had a chimerical notation that there were spiders crawling on.
Very good. And Grant. Perfect. All right, Brennan, my sister has a chimerical friend when she gets sad. Very good. And Brayden? Kids play using their chimerical skills. Good. And Jonah?
The kid had a chimerical friend.
Good. And Sierra?
I had a chimerical notion when I was younger that my toys could talk back.
Wonderful. That's Toy Story. That wonderful, lovely. And then Caden, I was very chimerical when I was a little kid. Abigail?
I have this chimerical dream that I'll be a singer on The Voice. Just kidding.
That is awesome. And then Robert? A fairy is very chimerical. Very excellent. Okay, guys. So again, reminding you, I don't want to have to keep repeating it, but tomorrow you will do this very same thing, only you'll do it at the Fine Arts Center. And I know that you'll be on your best behavior. I don't even worry about that because I know you're adults. You will be the oldest down there. We are merging with Miss James's class and Miss Eggers. So you'll be the seniors. You'll be 11th and 10th graders there. I know you'll be on your best behavior for them. So you'll do the next two vocab. You'll do masochist and you'll do finesse. And then you're going to do this. I have 4 questions for you that you'll answer in class on your laptop and you'll submit it before you leave. Please bring a library book because you may not need the whole time. Okay? It's great if you take the whole time, but October 14th is the AR deadline, so keep that in mind, okay? Does anybody have any questions? All right, so now we are going to finish. I'm going to go back to the video we started yesterday. We're 10 minutes. No, we're not. We haven't started at all. I'm not sure what that was. I don't know. I'm not sure what it is. Okay, guys, so this video will take about the rest of the period to watch. This is Michael Woods in Search of Beowulf. If you will please, now guys, listen, I've been asked to use our Go Guardian, not so much I'm trying to be nosy and we'll see what you're doing here in class, and you should be on, what we're doing, but more of a tracker to make sure people our virtual people are online. So just get used to me doing that. Don't take it personal, like she doesn't trust us. It's just, it's not about that. It's just about doing what we're supposed to be doing. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that on.
No, no,
Oh, I just got out of it. Hang on just a sec. All right.
dang.
All right, guys, are we ready?
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
put it away.
Sure.
Computers should be closed. You don't need your, I'm not having you take notes. Please don't ever regret that decision. I just want you to go and watch it, enjoy it, and not have to worry about notes, okay? Well, yes, yes.
That's a question.
Yeah, and I'll be,
59 minutes.
I'll be right there.
No, don't say 59 minutes. Yeah, it's saying.
Oh my God. Past, like a flame beyond the language of the living. It's more than 1,000 years old, and yet it still speaks to us. It's called Beowulf. I'm going in search of the roots of this great poem and the barbaric splendor of the world it depicts.
It is not fantasy. This shows what a golden reality it was.
It's a world caught between the pagan and the Christian. It's a landscape inhabited by monsters.
If you see this monster's red, saucer-like burning eyes, you're dead.
It's the tale of a hero, Beowulf, who confronts a dragon in its mysterious lair.
The dragon came raging, spat deathfire, war flashes blazed in the distance.
Its language has seduced a Nobel Prize-winning poet.
Marvelous to be reminded of the heft of words.
For the first time on television, we're allowed to examine the priceless original manuscript.
That's great, isn't it?
Beowulf and Anglo-Saxon poetry are at the root of the great tree of English language and literature which has spread across the whole of the planet. To my mind, it's our nation's greatest gift to the world. Beowulf is a work of the Anglo-Saxons, the Germanic tribes who came to our shores in the 5th century. So my journey in search of Beowulf starts on the east coast of England, where these tribes first settled in the Dark Ages.
The Anglo-Saxons were impoverished pagan immigrants who came to Britain at the time of the fall of the Roman Empire as economic migrants, seeking new life, new land. They sailed up these estuaries, the Stour, the Deben, the Orwell, and created their little kingdoms. They were a minority. They made little influence on our DNA. Our DNA as Britons is, in general, much older, but they had a profound effect on our society and our culture, and especially our language, and hence on our thought. For language is thought.
The English we speak today is descended from their speech. Our most commonly used words are theirs: green, red, hand, body. Words that describe key concepts: mother, father, friend, love, hate, forgiveness, life, death, God. Core words that still define our beliefs, our emotions, and our relations as human beings.
Now, though Beowulf is the earliest great work of English literature, it's not set in Britain. It's set in Denmark, with a little bit in Sweden, and in that sense, it's a post-migration tale. You think of the Irish or the Italians in America and the tenacity and affection with which they hold on to the memories of their European home. The Anglo-Saxons were like that. For centuries, they clung on to the myth of their coming. Take the famous 10th century poem, The Battle of Brunanburh. Sith an Engel and Saxon, uppbekommen of our brad Brimul, since the Angles and the Saxons came up over the broad waves. Brittene sochtan, begatten.
They were seeking Britain, taking the land. Part of the appeal of poetry to the Anglo-Saxons lay in the power of those ancestral stories. And though many centuries separate us from the original audience, poetry like Beowulf can still be compelling. Like so many great Hollywood adventures, Beowulf is the perennial story of the hero's quest. The hero who fights monsters, saves his people, and finds himself. Now, the very best way to experience Beowulf is to see it spoken live. And I've come to Kent to see it performed in a fantastic full-scale recreation of an Anglo-Saxon royal hall. It's been built here in Wickhurst by the members of a historical reenactment society, Regia and Glorum, who are all hooked on the Anglo-Saxons and their world.
Hi Kim, Michael, good to see you again. Fantastic. God, absolutely fabulous, isn't it? Cool, lummy, look at this. What is it about the Anglo-Saxon age that is so appealing?
What's not to love? When you get to wear this kind of stuff, isn't it? Just fantastic, yeah.
Today, the group have come to hear a performance of Beowulf by actor Julian Glover. For the last 30 years, in between roles in Star Wars and Harry Potter, he's been doing a one-man show of the poem. To get in the mood, his audience are preparing a Saxon feast. The poem starts not with Beowulf himself, but with a flashback to another mythic hero, Scyld Scefing, a magic boy cast up on the shores of Denmark.
Right. Here. Listen. We have heard of the thriving of the throne of Denmark. Was it not Scyld Scefing who found in childhood lacked clothing? Yet he lived and prospered, grew in strength and stature under the heavens. That was good König. He was a good king.
To be a good king, it's a key idea in the poem. Now, one of Scyld's descendants, the Danish king Hrothgar, builds a great golden hall called Herod, but in the darkness outside lurks a malevolent spirit.
Grendel, the fiend's name. Grim, infamous, wasteland stalker, master of the moor and the fen fortress. We found in Herod the nobles, after carousing, slept after supper. Mad with rage, he struck quickly at this creature regal, grim and greedy, savage and unsparing, grasped 30 warriors, and away he was homeward, lusty with booty, laden with the slain. When the day broke, and with the dawn's light, Grendel's outrage was openly to be seen.
To the Anglo-Saxon audience, Grendel's rampage was not just a random act of terror. In attacking the Mead Hall, he was attacking society as a whole. For here the rituals were enacted which bound their society together. So the hall is a center of not only social order, but moral order. And when the monster comes in the night and starts to tear the king's followers limb from limb, it's time for the hero, Beowulf.
He was of main strength, foremost of all the men that trod the earth at that time, great-framed, great-heart. This prince picked his men from the flower of his folk, the fiercest among them that might be found, 14. Sea-skilled Beowulf led them down to the beach's fringe.
Beowulf's a young man at this point. He leaves his native Sweden and sails with his war band to Denmark, their mission to boldly go and rid Hrothgar's hall of its demonic invader. Now, far back in time, the story originated in oral tales. So how was the poem handed down to us across a distance of more than 1,000 years? And how did it become a literary classic? To find out, I've got an appointment at the British Library.
I'm going to speak a little bit. This is just something that we don't follow. It's kind of slow.
The poem survived by sheer chance in a single manuscript. It's usually kept in the library's treasures room or in a security vault deep underground. Some would say it's our nation's most
So he gets it. Okay, here he's looking at it.
150 foot long. And it had two camels. I call them comedy camels, but actually meant to represent elephants. The artist mistook them for camels.
Interesting, isn't it? These strange dragons and monsters. You can see the connection with Beowulf.
Well, exactly. The scribe is the same as for part of the Beowulf poem itself.
As they're looking at the
So
actual
although
text.
this particular text doesn't have any relationship with the poem, it does signify that the scribes were actually interested in monsters itself.
It's small wonder then that a tale of creatures like Grendel should find a place in this medieval monster miscellany.
Let's turn to the beginning of the Beowulf manuscript itself. Here we go. What? The opening words. Listen up. Listen. We garden in year deum, Theod Kuningus, Frimje Frunon. That's the beginning of the tale. That's great, isn't it?
Here's the passage where Beowulf and his 14 companions spend the night in Hrothgar's hall, knowing that Grendel will return.
On one Nichte, Skridan Shedugenga. Gliding through the shadows came the walker in the night. The warriors slept, all except one, and this man kept an unblinking watch. He waited, pent heart swelling with anger against his foe. From off the moorland's misting fells came Grendel stalking. Bakum of Mura under Misliutum, Grendel Dongan. He moved through the dark, saw with perfect clearness the gold-paneled hall, mead drinking place of men. The door gave way at a touch of his hands. Rage inflamed, wreckage bent, he tore the hall's jaws. Hastening onwards, angrily advancing, from his eyes shot a light in a lovely form of fire. He saw in the hall the host of young warriors, and in his heart exulted, horrible monster, all his hopes swelling to a gluttonous wheel. As a first step, he set his greedy hands on a sleeping soldier, savagely tore him, gnashed at his bone joints, bolted huge goblets, sucked at his veins, and had soon eaten all of the man to his fingers and feet. Then he moved forward, reached to seize our warrior Beowulf, stretched out for him with his spite-filled fist, but the faster man, forestalling, rose up over his arm and quickly gripped that sickening hand. Hateful leech was the breath of the other. Rip! In the giant flesh flame showed then. Shoulder muscles sprang apart, a snapping of tendons, bone locks burst. The arm of the demon was severed from his side, and Grendel flew death-sick to his joyless den, where he knew that the end of his life was in sight. Beowulf had cleansed Heorot, saved the whole from persecution, and as a signal to all, the hero hung the hand, the arm and torn off shoulder, the entire limb, Grendel's whole grip beneath the soaring roof.
And so the first part of the poem ends. To us, the basic arc of narrative in Beowulf is quite familiar, but around the manuscript itself, there's still a real mystery. We don't know when or where the poem was initially composed and performed, and we don't know where the successive oral retellings were finally shaped into this written version. But within the poem, there are clues to its origin. So first of all, to find out where the original oral poem and its poet might have come from, I'm heading to one of the earliest Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, in East Anglia. This is the town of Woodbridge on the River Deben in Suffolk. Like most places around here, its roots lie over 1,000 years ago in the Anglo-Saxon period. All around us are signposts to the Anglo-Saxon past. Downriver is Kingston, the tun or farm of the kings of the East Angles. And upriver is Ufford, the ford of Wuffa the Wolf, one of their 6th century kings. And on the other shore is the site of the greatest archaeological discovery ever made in the British Isles.
This is the return of the football hero, the Sutton.
Beowulf expert Dr. Sam Newton, like me, is fascinated by the story of Sutton Hoo, a place with old legends of royal tombs and hidden gold.
You've got so many stories of buried treasure in this corner of Suffolk. No doubt people would be imagining all sorts of treasure buried there. But in this particular case, Elizabeth I astrologer, Dr. John Dee, is said to have dug here. And then the great lady who owned the land here in the 1930s, old Edith Pretty, she was certainly a lady who was interested in legends. And we know she took part in the Woodbridge Spiritualist congregation across the river here. And on the basis of all that, she became convinced that there was gold in her hills. And which is what, of course, led to... Yeah, exactly. Talk about dreams come true.
Edith Pretty's dreams centered on several mysterious mounds scattered around the area known as Sutton Hoo. Hoo meaning promontory in Anglo-Saxon. In 1938, she finally approached local archaeologist Basil Brown to investigate.
When I came over, I met Mrs. Pretty and walked down to the mound, and I said, "Which would you like excavated?" And she said, "What about that one?"
In May 1939, Brown began excavating, helped by the local gamekeeper and by Mrs. Pretty's gardener. Driving a trench from the east end of the mound, they traced rows of ship rivets still in position. And soon, they uncovered the ghost of a great ship with an undisturbed burial chamber. They found an Anglo-Saxon ship burial, and it lay beneath the exact spot where Mrs. Pretty had told Brown to dig.
And look, you can see the post there marking the size of the prow of the ship.
Oh yeah.
And the stern right out there.
So this is the ship lands here.
Exactly. The line of the keel is something like 90 feet. That's a massive ship, even by today's standards on the river.
Yeah.
And this beautiful ship, what a way to go. And of course, it brings with it the notion that death is but a point of embarkation in the journey. And it must have meant so much to them, hence the effort of bringing this massive ship, six tons at least, when light, all the way up here. And of course, this is where Beowulf comes in, because the opening movement of the poem culminates with a magnificent account of a royal ship funeral.
A boat with a ringed neck rode in the haven. And there they laid out their lord and master, giver of wound gold, in the waist of the ship, in majesty by the mast. A mound of treasures from far countries was fetched aboard her, and it is said that no boat was ever more bravely fitted out with the weapons of a warrior, war accoutrement, swords and body armor. High overhead they hoisted and fixed a gold signum, gave him to the flood, let the seas take him.
And around him, the ancestral treasures.
Yeah.
And that's in the poem, isn't it, in Beowulf?
They all just Threona, the folk treasures.
Fantastic.
The crown jewels, if you like.
No trace of the body of the dead king was ever found, but the extraordinary treasures buried with him caused a sensation.
Rewrote English history almost.
Yes, because this has opened up a lost chapter of English history, of a golden age, no less.
But had an extraordinary impact on the study of Beowulf too.
Well, it is not fantasy. It shows what a golden reality it was.
Yeah, I mean the poet describes these kind of talismanic artifacts. Absolutely. They're almost endowed with a kind of magical power, aren't they? The gift between kings and their warrior heroes. And you think it's just a poet talking, and then under this mound, there they are.
The most magnificent find was a ceremonial helmet When reconstructed, this literally fabulous piece revealed more close connections with the Beowulf poem.
This awesome face, Michael.
So fantastic, isn't it?
It is.
You see the boar's
Yes.
head there with the boar's tusks.
Exactly located as in the Beowulf description. The overlick Sheona over Cleoberga. The ball shape shone over the cheek guards. It protected the lives of the war-minded warriors. You know, in other words, what to us is an inanimate metal decoration, for them is an animate agent of protection. You get the impression that no helmet without a ball helmet would be considered safe.
So, $64,000 question, Sam. Whose helmet was this?
Good question. On the present evidence, the unavoidable conclusion is a king called Ragnvald. Not just a king of East Anglia, one of the first overlords of Britain.
And it's in the family tree of Redwald and the East Anglian kings that we find the next clue that may connect the Beowulf poet to this corner of England.
The Woffings, the name of the East Anglian royal family, named after their eponymous hero Wuffa, means little wolf. Woffings are wolfings. And a good
About a royal residence in the 7th century. We're talking about all the service industries being here as well, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the metal workers, the craftspeople, maybe the people who made the jewellery at Sutton Hoo.
And of course, most central of all, the great Golden Hall. The focus for assembly, for royal audiences, a great barn-like structure, nothing less than the Camelot of the North, this great ideal, of which this would be a reality.
And in it, the poets entertain the king and his warriors.
Absolutely.
Telling tales of...
No feast is complete without the poets telling us their entertainment.
And we can imagine that, well, almost on this spot. I mean, within this immediate area.
Yes, absolutely. All the indications are here.
Now, it came into his mind that he would command the construction of a huge mead hall, a house greater than men on earth ever had heard of, and share the gifts God had bestowed on him upon his floor with folk young and old. There was music of the harp, sweet minstrel singing, perfect in telling of the remote first making of the race of man.
A possible East Anglian origin to the poem is hinted at not only in the Sutton Hoo treasure and the family tree of the kings, it's also suggested by the landscape itself. The brooding fens of the poem are still to be found here in Suffolk. On a frosty morning, you can easily imagine ogres emerging from the mist. But there's a twist. From the 7th century, the kings here were Christian, and in those days the fens were the scene of spirit wars. One missionary saint, St. Botolph, founded his monastery in these marshes. From here, he would go out and fight fen demons with prayer, just as pagan heroes like Beowulf fought to rid Hrothgar's kingdom of monstrous marsh dwellers like Grendel. Their weapons were different, but the saint and the hero inhabit the same landscape.
Don't forget, Anglo-Saxon England, the England of Beowulf, was a wild and underpopulated land. There were no real towns. Forests were full of wolves, and the isolated farms and settlements, the lonely monasteries, like the one that stood on that promontory there, Icon, were little centres of human life amidst a vast, untamed nature. Their mental world was surrounded by monsters, and the unseen to them was palpable, and always threatened to burst over the threshold into the real. And in the story of Beowulf, after the killing of Grendel, the next eruption from the demonic, chthonic, watery depths of the Mere was, to the early medieval mind, and maybe to ours still too, even more threatening because it was female. Grendel's mother.
Grendel's mother now purposed, black-hearted, gluttonous, on a rock-bearing visit of vengeance for her son. She descended on Heorot, and fate swept on its wheel when the mother of Grendel found her way among those men. She grasped the man quickly. The king's good friend, Ashera, clutched into herself and was away to the fen. Beowulf was not there. Heorot was in uproar. Grendel's hand had gone with her.
From Beowulf to the alien, the mother monster has an honored place in horror stories. Grendel's mother may be fearsome, but she still feels a mother's bond to her child. And to the poet, that's even a source of imaginative sympathy. It makes her more than just a scary monster. She's a perverse mirror to mankind. And the poet strengthens that connection for his audience by giving his demons a biblical origin.
In the poem, Grendel and his kin are described as the seed of Cain. That's the son of Adam in the Bible, who committed the primordial crime of brother killing, for which he and his descendants would be cast out forever, exiled, fated to wander, fated always to fight their battle against humanity and goodness. And in the poem, Grendel is described as Al Yarinna, the old enemy, and even better, Fiend Mannequinus. Hardly needs translating, does it? The fiend of mankind. Those ideas and images come all the way down to Shakespeare and his contemporaries, and out in the landscape today, you can still find their traces.
Here in East Anglia, the name of Grendel is still applied to marshy pits and water courses. Today they call them grindles. And the idea of a Grendel-like fen monster as an enemy of Christianity is one that has also hung on here. I've come to the medieval church of Blythburgh to meet a local folklore expert, Peter Jennings.
Take a look at this. Cathedral of the Marshes. There was never more than 100 houses in Blythburgh. And yet it's fantastic, big place. Of course, there was a monastery.
7th century.
7th century.
Time of Beowulf.
Yes.
Already
yes.
here. So what's the legend of this place then, Pete?
Well, the tale goes that 4th of August, 1577, huge thunderstorms. And of course, the thunderstorm is when you expect Wotan and his wild hunt to descend with his devil dog, Black Shuck.
This is an ancient Anglo-Saxon word, actually, Peter, isn't it?
Oh,
it means it was like a monster Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah, from Shukka.
Yeah.
Shukka, yeah.
So it's a devil dog.
Yes, black and shaggy, saucer-like burning eyes.
It's strange, just like
Grendel with the light, the baleful light in the eyes.
Yeah.
Doesn't like the sound of singing, all this Christian stuff.
Just like toothed demons in the fens.
Yes, exactly. And Black Shuck comes down and down the arm. A man and a boy get in his way. They die. Because the belief is, as if you look into those fiery saucer-like eyes, you're dead. If not then, within a 12 months. People get out of the way. And of course, he sort of charges through. And this is a bit I've really got to show you. You're going to love this. So Black Shuck goes to this door, the north door. Now, the north door belongs to the devil in the church, as far as East Anglia folklore goes. And this is where his claw marks words their way into that door. And they have been there for a very long time.
So the East Anglian Tourist Board and Tudor Times really got to work here, didn't they? Yeah, fantastic.
Believe it or not, as you like.
By Tudor times, bogies like Black Shuck were fading into folklore. But the Anglo-Saxons believed in the reality of supernatural forces that could only be defeated by magic, whether by the cross of the saintly exorcist or by the sword of the hero.
3208. If it works out and we have time to show the rest, we might not get to see the rest of it. Tomorrow, again, I need you tomorrow to sit in the Fine Arts Center by the people you're sitting by now, and I'm gonna have you spaced out, like probably every other row. Please try to sit by the people you normally do, that way our chart is still intact. Does that make sense, guys? So that one is not mixed with other classes or whatever. You'll have your own section, okay? Y'all may have your tech time, all right? Just please, I know you'll do the best behavior.
I'm gonna stop recording and I'm going to, of course, I'm gonna leave my audio and camera on. That's all I have today.